Hi everyone, welcome to our customer webinar, Tap into Freedom, Teaching Communities Through BlueJeans. My name is Maggie Bliss and I'll be your moderator this morning. Today I'm joined by Andrew Nemmer, the president and co-founder of Tap into Freedom, and Maytaj Saad, our BlueJeans product marketing manager. So before we kick things off, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. First, you are using a BlueJeans Events, which means you're in a one-way viewing experience. And if you look on the right hand of your screen, you'll see the navigation bar. If you go to the third icon down, that is the moderator chat feature. And if you're having any technical issues, you can put them in there and we'll address those as soon as we can. And then the last icon is the Q&A chat feature. So if you have any questions for our presenters today, please put it in there and we'll address those at the end of the session. And lastly, this is being recorded and I will send it to you later today or tomorrow. Awesome. With that, I'll pass it over to Maytaj.
Thanks, Maggie. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone joining. Hope you're all well, staying safe. I know it's pretty crazy times right now. We're all adjusting to this new normal. Hopefully it's not the same normal that goes on for too long and, things get better soon. I think things are really difficult for a lot of people right now. So one of the things that I guess we are all trying to do is find some joy, find some happiness in whatever we do in our everyday life. So one of the things that personally for me is dancing, and not dancing myself, but watching people dance. I'm a terrible dancer, and so I'm so excited to be joined today by Andrew and talk about his exciting and amazing program that connects dancers with the teachers who are trying to pass on their art to them across the world. So, hi Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's get started. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the program Tap into Freedom and why you started this company and why you started this program?
Sure. My name is Andrew Nemmer. I'm a professional tap dancer. I travel to teach, perform, do a fair amount of public speaking as well on the topic. And about 5 years ago, I realized that there was a need in the tap dance community for access to teachers. Specifically, tap dance is an oral tradition, so it gets passed down from one person to another. And in geographies, in areas around the world where tap dance has become popular over the past years, there are issues with access to good teaching and teaching that's connected to that oral tradition, to that lineage. So I would travel around to festivals and find students who are so excited to be at the event and have access to all these amazing teachers, but then go home and feel like they have to wait a whole year to the next event to be next to these people again. And so I started looking for a way to provide continuing education and continuing access for those who are interested and kind of inspired enough. And that's when I started Tap into Freedom. So we started with a series of free webinars and then online coaching. Now, online coaching is kind of the cornerstone event where we teach people through distance learning wherever they are in the world and connect them with a coach, a mentor of sorts that has a connection to the lineage of tap dancing.
Wonderful. So connecting dancers and students together, bringing them all together and making it more accessible, basically, because it's not easy for people to travel all the time. And we can see it right now happening, how that's impacting all of us. So are there any other goals of the program that you have going on, and what else do you want to achieve with it outside of that?
Those are the main ones. Tap dance is it's like an old school art form, right?
Yeah.
Like you can videotape a step, you can send it, it can travel thousands and thousands of miles, but without context, without kind of why we do a certain thing or where that certain thing is coming from, the art form loses part of its root, right? The connection to why someone would want to hit the floor in a particular way, right? Why is it enjoyable to have a fun space to make noise?
Mhm.
Those things, when you're working on technique and you're trying to get good, are easily lost, and it takes a person to remind us of those things. And so, I think for me, the main goal is to continue and really just focus on the connection of people when it comes to this craft.
Wonderful. Can you share like a memorable anecdote or like about a particular instance where this program really made an impact on someone in your community or someone from your class?
Yeah, of course. Uh, a number of years ago, I was at a festival in Stockholm, Sweden, Stockholm Tap Dance Festival. And in my class in the front, there was a very young student, maybe 8 years old, but she was, focused. She had tons of enthusiasm, and she was really good. Like her skill set was there. She was in the room with a bunch of older people. Uh, it kind of seeing her reminded me of, my early years going to workshops as a very young dancer. And so we kind of struck it off, and I talked to her mom, who was at the festival with her, and asked them if they might be interested in having me work with her daughter, and they were super excited. But they live in Estonia,
Mm.
and so the only way that that could happen on a regular basis is through something like online distance learning and the platform of BlueJeans.
Mhm.
And we've been working together for a few years now. I've She's now 12, which is that's a thing. And I've gotten to see her grow as an artist. So, when we started, we might have been doing technique, and I'll show her some steps and kind of how to do some things. And our most recent project is me coaching her on her own choreography, and she's building her own pieces. So I get to sit back now and watch her create and see her like really develop into an artist, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that must be incredible seeing someone you've been working with for the last few years and like a 12-year-old right now creating their own pieces. That sounds amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us. Um, I want to touch a little bit on the actual program itself and how you're using BlueJeans in order to run these classes and like what the logistics of it looks like. You don't mind sharing that?
Sure. Yeah. Um, so technically speaking, when a coaching client approaches us, we ask them to apply. Not everybody's suited for coaching, but uh, most are. The application process just helps us gauge where they're at in
Hmm.
their journey. Um, and then we'll send them a link to a meeting. Right now we have a free 30-minute kind of starter session so that people can get used to the context. They get the link to the BlueJeans meeting. We log on. We go through our session. We check in with each other. We'll have some work time. We check out. Every meeting is recorded, and what we do is we'll take that recording, we'll download it, and we'll upload it to a client-specific portfolio. So each one of our clients gets a complete record and library of all their sessions.
Hmm. Awesome. Are there any other features outside of recording that you find particularly helpful from BlueJeans meetings?
For us, the audio quality of BlueJeans meeting has been great. There are other platforms that have challenges with recognizing tap dancing and the noise that we make as a viable thing that needs to be heard.
Yeah.
Uh, and additionally, the chat in BlueJeans meetings is super helpful. Um, I have yet to use the whiteboard, but I'm really excited to. uh, but in terms of kind of when you're working distance and we're not in the same room, any learning modality is useful. right? So
Yeah.
I use language, I'll use text, I'll use analogies, just to try and convey the idea of whatever I think the student needs at a particular time.
All right, awesome. And I assume like that was going to be my next question, like why did you prefer to use BlueJeans over, say, like another reason? And you said audio was one of the main key reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I first learned about BlueJeans when I was a resident at TED. So TED conferences had a residency program. I was there, and at the time, at least, they were using BlueJeans as their distance learning platform. Um, and I was looking for one, so I signed up, and I was looking for something that was super easy to use. I'm semi-tech savvy. Most tap dancers aren't. Like that's not their
Hmm.
primary focus. So I wanted something where like one click, it would work out of the box. And the first time I tried BlueJeans with a client live, everything worked. And so I was sold. The audio was clean. Um, Even if the client had low bandwidth issues, we could
Hmm.
get through the call. The information that I needed to see from them came through, and so for our purposes, it just worked, and that was wonderful.
Sounds good. That we're so happy to hear that it's working so well for you. Um, Switching gears a little bit. So like we're all going through this weird time together and like the current pandemic impacting all of us right now in one way or the other. So how are you managing to sort of connect with the people in your community during this time? And how are you, keeping in touch with each other?
Yeah, thankfully, the community around the programming that Tap Dance Freedom produces is already used to distance learning, and we're already
Yeah.
used to kind of staying in touch while we're apart. Uh, so that's been really helpful for us just to have a prior mode. Um, if we look at the tap dance or the dance community at large, the transition has been a lot harder, and
Yeah.
everybody's trying to find out how to move into distance learning and what the pros and cons and challenges, what's the same, what can't be brought in from the dance studio into an
Hmm.
online situation. How do we kind of supplement that uh, or supplement for that? So I think, it's thankfully for our community, the goal in general for me has been to just keep connecting with the people, right? Whether we have a session or not, just dropping folks a line, checking in with them, making sure that they know that whether we've coached like a year and a half ago or last week, like everybody that's in our community is someone that we think about and that we care about.
Yeah. Sounds good. So, given that a lot of other types of coaching and teaching and like even businesses are now having to move online, for example, like telehealth and remote counseling and training, what kind of advice do you have for those who are currently listening or will watch this webinar later? Like, given that you have experience doing this for a while now, like what would you suggest that they focus on when they're trying to implement a program like this for the first time?
Yeah, I think if there are things to focus on, and the shift is dramatic, and it might feel different depending on what field you're in or what industry you're in. I think there are two things. One is increased communication, right? You're going to be communicating with people and introducing them to a new way of working, right? A new context. So the more you can prepare them, kind of say, this is exactly what it's going to feel like. This is how you get into the room. This is, what's going to happen afterwards. This is how we're going to relate to one another, becomes really, really important, especially if you don't have prior relationships with those clients,
Yeah.
right? For us, most of the clients that we work with, we've been in person with at some point. With this transition, we've introduced our programming to a whole new set of clients, and we're engaging in that this is exactly what's going to happen. Like, get ready, right? A lot of people just don't know what it's going to be like, and they're
Yeah.
used to something that's very tactile and very in person. And the other side of the coin, I think, is to really think about your people, and what do they need, and what can this kind of situation provide for them in a way that in person might not. Uh, and what's really important about the in-person communication that we need to maintain,
Mhm.
right? It's very easy, I've found, in a teleconference to just be worried about the exchange of information, right? I'm here, I'm going to give you this stuff, and then we're done. And thank you very much. Cool. Next,
Yeah.
right? But it's super important. Like, I've realized over the years of doing this that people want to see you and they want to connect with you. And, different than a phone call, we can see each other on BlueJeans. So
Hmm.
that becomes really important. During this time, I've spent more time checking in with people and seeing how they're doing than, or at least the same amount of time doing that as like actually working.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah, and like from our perspective in BlueJeans, with like all this work from home going on, we get a lot of questions from people who are like turning on video for the literally the first time. They're always used to like either working in offices or working, with like audio conferencing, and you just don't get that face-to-face connection that you would over video. So we always encourage that whenever people are trying to get up to speed on video conferencing. So thanks for sharing that. So I'm almost towards the end. I just wanted to kind of ask you, like, as a dancer, as a teacher, as someone who's working in the creative space, what would you like to share with us and our audience? How do you suggest like we maintain community and connect with each other, especially who are trying to like work in the creative space right now in these difficult times?
Yeah, I think for the artists, and I consider everybody an artist because everybody is dealing in some sort of creative situation, whether you're problem solving or making a thing. Um, I think the most important thing is to remember to give yourself time to do that thing, right? To whether it's doodling or for me it's getting on the boards and just dancing without thinking about like the next video I have to record or the next coaching session. It's like just dancing to process the stuff that's going around and the stuff that's happening. Um, so whatever it is that you enjoy, the physical practice of that thing is really, really valuable. Uh,
Hmm.
to share it with others is bonus, but to make sure that you have time to do it for yourself is key.
Wonderful. On that note, would you like to give us a short demonstration?
I would be happy. Um, so I have a little board set up, um, and in tap dance land, it's more important for you to see my feet than to see the rest of me. So I'm going to tilt the camera down and make sure that can happen.
Yeah, that looks good.
All right, here we go.
Yay! That was lovely. Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that for us and sharing
My
it with our
pleasure.
audience. All right,
My
Maggie,
pleasure.
I think we're ready for Q&A now.
Perfect. We've had quite a few questions come in already, and if you think of any while we're talking, please put them in the Q&A chat feature. So one of them, someone asked, how are you finding students, and are you using social media channels to find students?
Yeah, social media is a really important aspect of our business and kind of outreach. In addition to kind of my normal teaching schedule and kind of traveling for that. Instagram is huge right now for us, but we also use Facebook. Um, and our kind of journey for clients is we offer a 30-minute free coaching session that's focused on developing a practice plan for them. Tap dancers normally have this issue of like too many options in terms of practicing. It's like we don't know how to focus. So we try and give them a personalized custom plan for them. And then that kind of branches out to video lessons and the online coaching.
Awesome. And then someone, Kyle, is very impressed with your on-screen presence,
Oh,
and
thanks.
said that using your hands a lot and the framing is great right now. So he kind of wants to know, how are you setting up the shots that you do? What are you sitting on? And are you using an external webcam or a tripod?
So this is like super basic right now. So I have a window in front of me, so I'm getting natural light. There are no other lights in the room. Um, I learned the other day from a wonderful coach on LinkedIn that if you have sight lines going into perspective that match kind of like where you are, that focuses the viewer to that focus point in the frame. Um, so that's why I'm set up on an angle as opposed to flat. And that's basically it. I'm sitting on a chair. My laptop's a little bit higher than normal, so it doesn't look like I'm looking down at anybody. Um, and the hands thing is because my folks are from Lebanon. So it's the Mediterranean, like, yeah.
I have a question going off of Kyle's question. Do you advise your students to have a specific type of setup so that you can see them easily? I know
Yeah.
audio is a big part, but also, I mean, dance is also visual. So what kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah. So, I try and make it as low barrier as possible. So some students and some clients will use their laptops, some will be on a phone. Um, my basic requirements is that they have enough space to dance, whether it's a small board like what you saw, some have larger spaces. Some clients I'll find them in a studio, and so they have a huge space. Uh, and we're really flexible. Like if I need to see their feet, I will ask them to move closer and turn the camera down so that I can just see their feet for a particular move. If I need to see their whole body, I'll ask them to move back or move the camera so that I can see what they're doing. Um, the key here is to not make the technology an issue, right? I can get to the information I need really, really easily, without causing too much commotion on the client side.
Great. And then speaking of the technology not being an issue, how do you deal with locations that have low bandwidth?
Yeah, so it's happened a bunch of times for us, and it's something that we can't control, right? BlueJeans has been great in so much as in our experience when low bandwidth is an issue, the video might chop and skip a little bit, but the audio still comes through like exceptionally clear. And so as a tap dancer, that's great because then I can still hear if the student executes correctly, and I can ask them to go back and maybe do a smaller section, wait for the bandwidth to clear a little bit. Uh, but it's been spectacular.
Awesome. And then someone asked regarding the audio. They say sometimes the audio quality isn't great on other things they've tried. So how do you play the recorded music for the dance at the same time, and how do you get that all to sync?
Right. In our experience with BlueJeans specifically, it's really been super simple. So our client will have BlueJeans running on one device, and they'll have another device next to them somewhere in front of the laptop or in front of their phone. that they can play music on, and that music comes in right along with the tap sounds, and there's no like hack or back end thing that we have to do. My student in Estonia is 12 years old, and she takes her phone, plays the music, dances, and I hear everything, and it's not a problem.
That's fantastic. And then if you had one piece of advice on how to make a transition from a very in-person experience like tap dance to virtual, what would that piece of advice be?
Wow, one piece of advice. Uh, make it fun. Like this is it's a novelty at this point, right? So if you magnify the novelty and you say, "Hey, remember when?" or you're kind of like an on-screen personality to a certain degree until the relationship builds with the people that you're working with. And it's such a weird scenario, right? It's just an odd thing that I'm able to teach somebody 5,000 miles away, but you can poke at that and like recognize that. Uh, and and I think that helps in the transition, right? It depends on the age group that you're working with. If you're working with really young kids, you might have to become more of a personality because you can't, you know, hold on to them in the same way.
Mhm.
Uh, but for teenagers and adults, uh, it's very much what are the good things that we can pull in from the in-person experience, and then what are the things from the online experience that we can kind of amplify.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And then going to a slightly more technical question, someone wanted to know, is there a max time limit per event? Which Maytaj, you might be able to comment on this per meeting. And then when it's recorded, where does that recording live and how do people access it?
Yeah, there's actually no limit. So it depends on like which tier of BlueJeans meetings you're using, but you can keep like your meetings as long as you want. And so once you record the meeting, you will go to your My BlueJeans hub where you will find the recording. And then you can download the recording as like a video file. You can embed it on your website. You can share it with other people. And if you include some of our smart meetings features, which you can go and look up on our website, you can also like tag people, add comments, add notes. It has transcription. It has a way to like connect, put like crowdsourcing in your hand in order to like pass things around and collaborate better. So check that out on the BlueJeans product page.
Awesome. And then this will be our last question. If people are interested in your services, Andrew, where can they go to get more information and to find out more about what you do?
Sure. My personal website is andrewnemmer.com. Nemmer is Nemer, very odd spelling of a last name. And then for Tap into Freedom programs, it's tapdancefreedom.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, Maytaj. If we didn't get to your questions, don't worry. I will answer those after the event. And of course, we will send you a recording if you want to watch this again. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.